My name is Faye Sullivan. I'm 32 years old, and the last time I trusted my family's invitation, it cost me everything I thought I knew about love. They told me to come early. They said they wanted to celebrate me. What I found instead was a betrayal so calculated, so cold, that it took my breath away before it gave me back my voice. Before we jump back in, tell us where you're tuning in from, and if this story touches you, make sure you're subscribed, because tomorrow I've saved something extra special for you. The text came on a Tuesday morning while I was reviewing patient files at the clinic where I work as a physical therapist. It was from my mother, Linda. Faye, sweetheart, we're throwing a surprise party for your sister Monica this Saturday. Come by the house at 2 p.m. sharp. We need your help setting up before guests arrive at 5. It'll mean the world to her. I smiled at my phone, feeling that familiar warmth of being needed, of being part of something. Monica was turning 28, and after her recent promotion to senior architect at Henderson Design Group, she deserved to be celebrated. I texted back immediately. Wouldn't miss it. I'll bring the good champagne. Saturday arrived with that peculiar kind of brightness that makes you believe good things are waiting. I left my apartment in downtown Seattle at noon, stopping by the French bakery on Pine Street to pick up Monica's favorite lemon tarts, the ones with the torched meringue tops that cost too much but taste like clouds. The drive to my parents' house in Maple Valley took 40 minutes through winding roads lined with Douglas firs, their branches heavy with early autumn rain. I'd made this drive 1,000 times, every holiday, every birthday, every Sunday dinner when my father would grill salmon and my mother would insist we all sit together without phones. Family was everything to the Sullivans. Or so I'd been raised to believe. I pulled into the circular driveway at 10 minutes past 2, noting that I was the first to arrive. The house looked the same as always, that sprawling craftsman-style home with the wraparound porch and the flower boxes my mother tended obsessively. Hydrangeas in summer, chrysanthemums now. The front door was unlocked, which wasn't unusual. My mother often left it open when she was expecting family. I pushed it wide and called out cheerfully, "Mom? I'm here. Where do you want me to start?" No answer. The house was quiet in that specific way that feels deliberately empty. I set the bakery box on the kitchen counter and noticed something odd. There were no balloons, no streamers, no stack of plates waiting to be arranged. The dining table wasn't extended. No punch bowls sat chilling in the fridge. In fact, everything looked perfectly ordinary, as if no party had ever been planned at all. That's when I heard it. Laughter coming from the back patio, the kind that's low and secretive, meant only for the people in on the joke. I walked through the kitchen toward the sliding glass doors, my footsteps soft on the hardwood floor my parents had refinished last spring. Through the gauzy curtains, I could see them. My entire family. My mother Linda in her cream cardigan, my father Robert with his reading glasses pushed up on his head, my sister Monica in a sundress I'd never seen before, and sitting beside her with his arm draped possessively across her shoulders was Daniel. Daniel Reeves. My fiancé. The man I'd been with for 4 years. The man whose ring I still wore on my left hand, a simple platinum band with a sapphire center stone because I'd always hated diamonds. The man who was supposed to be in Portland this weekend for a medical conference. That's what he'd told me on Thursday night while we were making pasta in my kitchen, his hands in my hair, his lips on my forehead, his voice so steady when he said, "I'll miss you, but it's only 2 days." They were all sitting around the patio table, drinks in hand, and they were laughing. Not the nervous laughter of people caught doing something wrong, but the easy, comfortable laughter of people who'd been planning this for a while. Monica leaned into Daniel, her head on his shoulder, and my mother reached across to squeeze her hand with a smile that could only be described as approving. My father raised his glass in what looked like a toast, and I saw Daniel's mouth move, forming words I couldn't hear through the glass but could somehow feel in my bones. My hand found the door handle. I slid it open slowly, the metal cool against my palm, and stepped onto the patio. The laughter died instantly. For faces turned toward me, and in that moment, in the half-second before anyone could rearrange their expressions, I saw it all. Guilt. Surprise. Annoyance. And from Daniel, something that looked almost like relief. The silence stretched like a rubber band pulled too tight, and I stood there waiting for it to snap. My mother was the first to recover, her face shifting into that practiced smile she used when neighbors dropped by unannounced. "Faye, honey, you're early," she said, as if that explained everything, as if I hadn't just caught them in the middle of something that made my stomach turn. "You told me 2 o'clock, I said, my voice sounding strange to my own ears, flat and distant. "You said Monica's party. You said you needed help setting up." Monica had the decency to look away, her cheeks flushing pink, but she didn't move from where she sat pressed against Daniel's side. Daniel, for his part, slowly removed his arm from around my sister's shoulders and stood up. He was wearing the blue shirt I'd bought him for his birthday, the one I'd spent an hour picking out because it matched his eyes. The irony wasn't lost on me. "Faye," he started, his hands raised as if I were some startled animal he needed to calm. "This isn't what it looks like." I laughed then, a sharp sound that cut through the autumn air. "Really, Daniel? Because it looks like you're sitting with my family, with your arm around my sister, at a party I was lied to about. So please, enlighten me about what this actually is." My father cleared his throat, setting down his whiskey glass with a soft clink against the glass table. "Faye, sit down. Let's talk about this like adults." "Like adults," I repeated, tasting the bitterness of those words. "Adults don't ambush people. Adults don't lie about parties to get someone to show up to their own humiliation." "Nobody's trying to humiliate you," Monica said quietly, finally meeting my eyes. "We just needed to talk to you, and we knew you wouldn't come if we told you the truth." "Talk to me about what, exactly?" I asked, even though some part of me already knew, had maybe known the moment I saw them together, had perhaps been ignoring small signs for months without realizing it. Daniel took a step toward me, and I took a step back. He noticed, and something flickered across his face. Hurt, maybe, or annoyance that I wasn't making this easier for him. "Faye, I never meant for this to happen. You have to believe that. But Monica and we've developed feelings for each other." "Real feelings." "Real feelings," I echoed, my hands starting to shake. I shoved them into the pockets of my jacket. "How long?" "Does it matter?" my mother interjected, standing now, moving toward me with that concerned expression she wore when she thought I was being unreasonable. "What matters is that we handle this maturely. Daniel and Monica care about each other, and we need to respect that." "We?" Preparing and narrating this story took us a lot of time, so if you are enjoying it, subscribe to our channel. It means a lot to us. Now, back to the story. The word came out as a whisper. "You knew about this? All of you knew?" My father shifted in his chair, suddenly very interested in the ice cubes in his glass. "We found out about 3 months ago," he admitted. "They came to us, wanted to do this the right way. We've been trying to figure out how to tell you." 3 months. I'd spent 3 months going about my life, planning our wedding that was supposed to happen next June, looking at venues and tasting cakes and addressing save-the-date cards, while my entire family knew that my fiancé was in love with my sister. While they all sat around this same patio table, probably, discussing how to break it to poor Faye, how to manage her feelings, how to make this easier on everyone except me. "The right way," I said slowly, my voice gaining strength. The right way would have been Daniel telling me the moment he realized he had feelings for someone else. The right way would have been Monica coming to me before she did anything with my fiancé. The right way would have been any of you respecting me enough to be honest instead of orchestrating this theatrical intervention. "We're being honest now," Monica said, and there was a defensive edge to her voice that I'd heard 1,000 times growing up, the tone she used when she wanted to be the victim. "We're trying to do the right thing. Daniel and I want to be together, and we're asking for your blessing." The audacity of it hit me like cold water. They wanted my blessing. They wanted me to smile and nod and make this comfortable for them, to absolve them of their guilt so they could move forward without the inconvenient weight of my hurt feelings. I looked at Daniel, really looked at him, and tried to find the man I'd fallen in love with 4 years ago. The man who'd brought me coffee every morning, who'd held me when I cried after losing a patient, who'd promised me forever. But all I saw was a stranger wearing his face. When did it start? I asked Daniel directly. And don't lie to me. I deserve at least that much truth. He glanced at Monica, and that look told me everything. They had their own language now, their own silent communication, the kind that develops between people who share secrets. It started at your birthday dinner, he said finally. Back in June. Monica stayed late to help clean up, and we just started talking. Really talking. We realized we had more in common than we thought. My birthday dinner. The night I'd turned 32, surrounded by everyone I loved, wearing the dress Daniel had complimented, cutting the cake Monica had insisted on baking herself. That night, while I'd been laughing and blowing out candles and feeling grateful for my life, they'd been falling for each other in my kitchen. Get out, I said quietly. Faye, please, my mother started. No, I cut her off, my voice rising now. You don't get to, Faye, please, me. You all knew. You all lied. You brought me here under false pretenses to make this easier on yourselves, and I'm done. Daniel, take off my ring and leave it on the table. Then get out of my parents' house. Faye, be reasonable, my father said, standing now. We're family. We need to work through this together. Family, I repeated, the word tasting like ash in my mouth. Family doesn't betray each other. Family doesn't choose sides before there's even been a conversation. You all chose them, I pointed at Daniel and Monica, before I even knew there was a choice to be made. So no, we're not working through anything together. Daniel, the ring. Now. He hesitated, then slowly twisted the platinum band off his finger. The matching ring to mine, the one we'd picked out together at that small jeweler in Pike Place Market, the one engraved with the date we'd met. He set it on the table with a soft click that sounded deafening in the silence. I'm sorry, he said, and he might have even meant it. I never wanted to hurt you. But you did it anyway, I said. That's the part that matters. I turned to leave, my legs somehow carrying me even though I felt disconnected from my body, floating somewhere above this scene, watching a woman I didn't recognize walk away from everything she'd thought was solid. My mother called after me, something about not leaving like this, about talking tomorrow when everyone was calmer. I didn't turn around. I made it to my car, my hands shaking so badly I could barely get the key in the ignition. Through the windshield, I could see them all standing on the porch now, watching me leave. Monica was crying, Daniel had his arm around her again, and my parents stood there like they didn't know whose side to take, even though they'd already chosen. I drove. I didn't know where I was going at first, just away, anywhere but there. The roads blurred through tears I didn't remember starting to cry. My phone began buzzing in the cup holder, call after call that I didn't answer. By the time I found myself pulling into a familiar driveway, the sun had started to set, painting everything in shades of gold and amber that felt too beautiful for how broken I felt inside. My best friend Kayla answered on the second knock, took one look at my face, and pulled me inside without a word. Kayla's apartment smelled like vanilla candles and the lavender detergent she used on everything. She guided me to her oversized couch, the one we'd spent countless nights on watching terrible reality shows and dissecting my relationship with Daniel, back when I thought there was something worth analyzing. She didn't ask questions. She just handed me a blanket, made chamomile tea I didn't drink, and sat beside me while I stared at the wall and tried to understand how my life had split into before and after in the span of 20 minutes. He's been sleeping with my sister, I finally said, my voice hoarse. 4 months. And my parents knew. Kayla's hand found mine and squeezed. Tell me everything. So I did. I told her about the fake party invitation, about finding them all on the patio looking like a family portrait I'd been cropped out of, about Daniel asking for my blessing as if betrayal was something that required permission. The words poured out in fragments, disjointed and raw, and Kayla listened to every single one without interrupting. When I finished, she was quiet for a long moment. I never liked him, she said finally, her tone matter of fact. I know I never said it because you seemed happy, but Daniel always struck me as the kind of guy who needed to be the center of attention. Monica worships people like that. I turned to look at her, surprised by the venom in her voice. You really never liked him? Faye, the man once interrupted your story about a patient's recovery to talk about his fantasy football league. At your own birthday dinner, he spent more time on his phone than talking to your guests. And he always had this way of making you feel like you should be grateful he chose you. She paused, her dark eyes meeting mine. I'm not glad you're hurting. But I'm glad you're out. Her words settled over me like a cold compress on a burn, soothing and stinging at the same time. I wanted to defend him, to explain that he'd had good qualities too, but every memory I reached for came up tainted now. The way he'd always needed me to reassure him. The way my accomplishments somehow became conversations about his insecurities. The way he'd slowly, almost imperceptibly, made himself the main character in my life story. My phone wouldn't stop buzzing. I finally looked at it. 43 missed calls. 67 text messages. Most from my mother, some from Monica, a few from Daniel, even one from my father who never texted. I scrolled through them with a detached curiosity, like reading someone else's crisis. Mom, Faye, please come back. We need to discuss this as a family. Monica, I know you're hurt, but this isn't fair. You can't just run away from difficult conversations. Daniel, I understand you need space, but we should talk about dividing our things. I'll come by your place tomorrow. That last one made something crack open inside my chest. He wanted to divide our things. As if this were a business transaction, as if 4 years could be sorted into boxes labeled mine and yours. I typed back with shaking fingers. You don't get to come to my apartment. You don't get to decide when we talk. I'll contact you when I'm ready. Don't show up at my home or my work. I hit send before I could second guess myself, then I blocked his number. The screen showed a brief notification that the contact had been blocked, and I felt a small, fierce satisfaction. One boundary set. 1,000 more to go. Stay here tonight, Kayla said, not a question but a statement. I'll make up the guest room. Tomorrow we'll figure out next steps, but tonight you just need to exist. I nodded, too exhausted to argue. While she went to find sheets, I checked my messages again. My mother had sent another string of texts, each one progressively more frustrated. This isn't like you, Faye. You're being dramatic. Daniel and Monica deserve happiness too. Why are you being so selfish? Your father and I raised you better than this. Call me back immediately. The word selfish ricocheted around my skull. I was being selfish for not immediately blessing my fiancé's affair with my sister. I was being dramatic for leaving a situation where I'd been lied to and ambushed. The logic was so twisted it would have been funny if it didn't make me want to scream. I called my mother. She answered on the first ring. Faye, thank God. Listen, I know you're upset, but, Mom, stop. My voice came out steadier than I felt. I need you to hear me very clearly. What happened today was not okay. You lied to get me there. You all knew about Daniel and Monica for 3 months and said nothing. You let me plan a wedding to a man who was in love with my sister. We were trying to protect you, she said, and I could hear the defensiveness creeping in. We wanted to tell you in person, all together, so you'd have support. That wasn't support, Mom. That was an ambush. Support would have been Daniel telling me the truth the moment he realized his feelings had changed. Support would have been you calling me the day you found out and helping me process it. What you did was make me feel insane for not knowing something everyone around me already did. You're overreacting, she said, and there it was, the phrase I'd heard my entire childhood whenever my feelings inconvenienced her plans. Monica is your sister. Family forgives. Does Monica want my forgiveness? Because from where I was standing, she looked pretty comfortable asking for my blessing instead. I took a breath, steadying myself. I'm not coming to Sunday dinner. I'm not coming to any family events until I decide I'm ready. And if you keep pushing me, that day might never come. Faye Sullivan, you don't mean that. I absolutely do. Tell Monica and Daniel I'm happy for them, since that's apparently what everyone wants to hear. Tell them they have my blessing to do whatever they want, because I'm done caring. I hung up before she could respond, my heart hammering against my ribs. Kayla appeared in the doorway, holding a stack of folded sheets, her expression proud. That sounded healthy, she said. That sounded insane, I corrected, but I was almost smiling. I just told my mother I might never come back to family dinners. Good. She'll either respect your boundaries or she won't, but at least you've stated them clearly. Kayla set the sheets down and sat beside me again. Here's what's going to happen. Tomorrow, you're taking a sick day. We're going to your apartment while Daniel's at work, and we're packing up anything of his that's there. Then we're changing your locks. Then we're ordering extremely expensive takeout on his credit card if you still have it, and we're watching movies that make us feel powerful. I can't afford to change the locks, I said automatically. Yes, you can. You've been paying for everything anyway. When's the last time Daniel contributed to rent? I opened my mouth to defend him, then stopped. When was the last time? He'd moved in 8 months ago, claiming he needed to save money for the wedding, for our future. I'd agreed because it made sense, because I loved him, because I wanted him there. But now I couldn't remember a single month where he'd handed me a check or transferred his share. He'd bought groceries sometimes, sure, and he'd paid for dinners out, but the rent, the utilities, the furniture, all of that had been on me. He was saving for our future, I said weakly. He was using you, Kayla said gently. And I know that's hard to hear, but Faye, look at the facts. He lived rent-free in your apartment, he was planning a wedding you were paying for, and the moment someone shinier came along, he jumped ship. That's not love. That's convenience. The truth of it settled in my bones, heavy and cold. I'd been convenient. A safe harbor while he figured out what he really wanted. And the moment my sister showed interest, someone younger and more vivacious and less likely to call him out when he was being selfish, he traded up without a second thought. I'm so stupid, I whispered. You're not stupid. You're trusting. There's a difference. Kayla pulled me into a hug, and I let myself cry properly for the first time since leaving my parents' house. But now you get to be smart. Now you get to protect yourself. And I promise you, 6 months from now, you're going to look back on this and realize it was the best thing that could have happened. I didn't believe her. But I wanted to. Monday morning came too fast. I'd barely slept, my mind replaying the patio scene on an endless loop, finding new details to torture myself with each time. The way Monica had leaned into Daniel. The way my mother had smiled at them. The way my father couldn't even look me in the eye. Kayla made me coffee and toast I couldn't eat, then drove me to my apartment because she didn't trust me to go alone. Daniel's car wasn't in the parking lot. Good. I didn't have the energy for another confrontation. We climbed the stairs to the second floor, and I stood outside my own door for a long moment before unlocking it. Everything inside looked exactly as I'd left it Saturday morning. My coffee mug still in the sink. The book I'd been reading splayed open on the couch. The framed photo of Daniel and me at the San Juan Islands last summer, both of us sunburned and grinning, his arm tight around my waist. I walked past it without touching it. Where do we start? Kayla asked, all business now, her hair pulled back in a ponytail like she was preparing for battle. His clothes, I guess. Then anything else that's his. I moved toward the bedroom, each step feeling heavier than the last. The closet we shared was a perfect metaphor for our relationship. My clothes were organized by color and season, taking up maybe a third of the space. His clothes sprawled across the rest, suits and jackets and the expensive sneakers he collected but never wore. I started pulling things off hangers, not bothering to fold them, just tossing them onto the bed in a growing pile. Kayla appeared with garbage bags and boxes she must have grabbed from her car. I'm putting his toiletries in here. Do you want to keep the cologne? No. The thought of smelling that scent ever again made my stomach turn. Throw it all out. We worked in focused silence, moving through the apartment like a demolition crew. His gaming console went in a box. his protein powder and vitamins from the kitchen. The ridiculous throw pillows he'd insisted on buying because they were aesthetic. Every item felt like peeling off a layer of skin, painful but necessary. In the back of the closet, I found the suit he'd worn to propose, still in its garment bag, and something inside me finally snapped. I sat down hard on the bedroom floor, the garment bag clutched in my hands. He'd proposed at Kerry Park, overlooking the city at sunset, with a photographer he'd hired to capture the moment. I'd thought it was the most romantic thing anyone had ever done. Now I wondered how much of it had been performance, how much had been for the photos he'd posted everywhere, collecting likes and congratulations like currency. "Hey," Kayla knelt beside me. "You okay?" "He proposed 6 months ago," I said. 6 months. And 3 months ago he started sleeping with my sister. Which means we were engaged for 3 months before he decided I wasn't enough. Or, Kayla said carefully, he was never capable of being faithful and you dodged a nuclear missile instead of just a bullet. I wanted to laugh but couldn't quite manage it. My family knew, Kayla. For 3 months, every Sunday dinner, every phone call, they all knew and they said nothing. My mother hugged me goodbye last week and told me she was excited for the wedding, and she already knew there wasn't going to be one. Then your family failed you, Kayla said bluntly. And I know that's hard to accept because we're taught that family is everything, but sometimes family is just people who happen to share your blood and not your values. We finished packing by noon. 6 boxes and 4 garbage bags sat by the door, containing the physical evidence of 4 years I'd never get back. I took photos of everything, documenting what was his, because some instinct told me I might need proof later. Then I texted Daniel from Kayla's phone since he was still blocked on mine. "Your things are packed. You have until 6 p.m. today to pick them up from the front office. After that, they're going to Goodwill." The response came within minutes. "You can't just throw out my stuff. Some of that is expensive." Kayla grabbed her phone back and typed. "Then I suggest you come get it." Clock's ticking. While we waited for the locksmith Kayla had called, my phone rang. Unknown number. I should have known better, but I answered anyway. "Faye, it's Monica." I almost hung up immediately. Almost. "What do you want?" "I want to explain." "You didn't let anyone explain on Saturday, you just ran away like you always do when things get difficult." Her voice had that edge to it, the one she used when she was building up to being the victim. "I didn't run away, Monica. I left a situation where I was ambushed and lied to." "There's a difference. You're being so dramatic about this. People fall in love. It happens. Daniel and I didn't plan this, it just developed naturally, and we're trying to do the right thing by being honest with you." The audacity stole my breath for a moment. The right thing would have been being honest 3 months ago. The right thing would have been Daniel breaking up with me before he started a relationship with you. The right thing would have been you coming to me first, sister to sister, instead of sneaking around behind my back. "I knew you'd react like this," Monica said, and I could hear the satisfaction in her voice, like I'd just confirmed whatever narrative she'd built about me. "You've always been jealous of me. Ever since we were kids, you couldn't stand it when I had something you wanted." "I didn't want Daniel, Monica. I had him. You took him." My voice was shaking now, anger finally breaking through the numbness. "And you know what? You can keep him. You two deserve each other." "At least he chose me," she shot back, the mask slipping completely. "At least when he looks at me, he sees someone exciting, someone fun, not some boring physical therapist who spends all her time working and has no personality outside of being responsible." The words hit like physical blows, each one finding a soft spot I didn't know was exposed. Boring. No personality. All the insecurities I'd carried since childhood, every time Monica had been the fun one, the pretty one, the one everyone wanted to be around while I was steady, reliable, forgettable Faye. "Is that what he told you?" I asked quietly. "Is that how he justified cheating on me? By convincing you I was boring?" She hesitated, and in that pause I heard everything. He didn't have to convince me of anything. I have eyes, Faye. I've watched you suffocate him for years with your neediness, your constant need for reassurance, your inability to just let him breathe. I laughed then, a sound with no humor in it. That's fascinating, Monica, because from where I stood, I was paying his rent, buying his clothes, and planning a wedding he supposedly wanted while he was busy convincing my little sister that I was the problem. Don't act like some martyr. You offered to help him financially. Nobody forced you. You're right, I said, a strange calm settling over me. Nobody forced me. I chose to support someone I loved. I chose to believe in a partnership. I chose wrong, but at least I chose with good intentions. What did you choose, Monica? Because from here it looks like you chose to betray your sister for a man who's already proven he's a liar. Good luck with that. I hung up before she could respond, my hands trembling with adrenaline. Kayla was staring at me with something like awe. That was incredible, she said. That was terrifying, I corrected. I've never talked to her like that in my life. Well, you should have. She's a narcissist who's been coddled by your parents since birth. The doorbell rang. That's probably the locksmith. Let's make sure Daniel's stuff is in the office and then change these locks so you can finally breathe in your own home. By the time Daniel came for his boxes at 5:47 p.m., 13 minutes before my deadline, I was sitting in my apartment with new locks and a strange sense of lightness. I watched from the window as he loaded everything into his car, making multiple trips, his movements angry and jerky. At one point he looked up at my window, and I didn't hide. I just stared back, my face neutral, and after a moment he looked away first. That night I ordered Thai food, opened a bottle of wine, and sat on my couch in the apartment that was finally, completely mine. My phone buzzed with another message from my mother, another guilt trip wrapped in concern, and I deleted it without reading the whole thing. Kayla had gone home but promised to check in tomorrow. The silence in my apartment wasn't empty anymore. It was peaceful. I raised my wine glass to the space where Daniel's things used to be and whispered, to new beginnings, even when they look like endings. The echo of my own voice was the only answer I needed. 4 months passed like water finding new paths around old stones. I stopped checking my phone every 5 minutes. Stopped flinching when I saw happy couples. Stopped wondering what Daniel and Monica were doing and started focusing on what I was building instead. Kayla convinced me to join her kickboxing class, and I discovered that punching things was surprisingly therapeutic. My arms got stronger. My mind got clearer. The woman staring back at me in the mirror started to look familiar again, but better, sharper, more herself. I picked up weekend shifts at the clinic, not because I needed the money but because I genuinely loved my work. Watching patients regain mobility they thought they'd lost forever reminded me that healing wasn't linear, that setbacks were part of progress, that strength came from showing up even when it hurt. My mother called once a week like clockwork, each conversation a negotiation I refused to participate in. She wanted me at Monica's engagement party. Wanted me to be reasonable. Wanted me to remember that family forgives. I told her I'd forgiven them all the moment I walked away, but forgiveness didn't mean volunteering for more pain. She stopped calling after that. Then one ordinary Tuesday, while I was reviewing patient charts during lunch, someone knocked on my office door. I looked up to find a man about my age holding a coffee cup, looking slightly lost. "I'm so sorry to bother you," he said with an apologetic smile. "I'm Marcus Chen, starting today in orthopedics upstairs. I was told the best coffee in the building comes from the cafe next door, but I got turned around coming back. You look like someone who knows where things are." I laughed despite myself. "Third floor is 2 floors up. Easy mistake." "Story of my life," he said, then paused. "This is going to sound forward, but would you maybe want to grab actual good coffee sometime? As thanks for the directions I clearly need?" I should have said no. Should have said I wasn't ready. But something about his easy smile and the way he didn't try too hard made me hear myself say, "I'd like that." 6 months after that patio confrontation, I stood in my apartment, new curtains filtering afternoon light, photos of my own choosing on the walls. My phone sat silent on the counter. No missed calls from family trying to pull me back into their narrative. No texts from Daniel asking for closure he didn't deserve. Just peace. Hard-won, deliberately chosen peace. I'd learned that sometimes the celebration they promise you is actually the awakening you need. Sometimes coming early means leaving first. And sometimes the family you're born into teaches you exactly what kind of family you want to build for yourself. My name is Faye Sullivan. I'm 32 years old. And the day my family said they'd celebrate me but chose to betray me instead was the day I learned that the most important relationship I'll ever have is the one with myself. Up next, you've got 2 more standout stories right on your screen. If this one hit the mark, you won't want to pass these up. Just click and check them out.